So I just retreat my bishop back, and now my dark squared bishop is unprotected. He continues his development even though this is later-ish in the game. Moves his knight out, and he was a little bit silly and moved his knight into a pin with his queen. So he's not going to be moving that knight for now. And instead of doing something about that, maybe moving his queen again to a square that's protecting his knight, he decides to move his bishop forward and attack my queen. This put me in a really good place because basically I can win a minor piece and really be up a lot of material, a rook and a minor piece. So here I had the choice to either take with his knight, or take his knight with my bishop, my light squared bishop, and threaten his queen, or move my queen out of, well, basically take his bishop and then let his knight take my queen. Basically it turns out better in every situation to take the knight. So I do that. Whoops, sorry. Just moved the screen by accident. I take his knight, he takes my queen, and then I take his bishop. So I just gained another minor piece there. I'm up a lot of material now, although he is up 2 pawns. He still has all his pawns and I'm down 2. He sort of brings his knight over to maybe do some sort of attack on my king side with his his queen and knight. And I decide to get my knight activated and connect my rooks. He attacks my queen, so I swing that backwards, putting pressure on his queen, making him move that again. It's kind of the story of this game, him having to run his queen out of trouble. And at this point I'm looking for any exchanges I can get, I will take, since I have such a big material advantage. Knight's moving around. I'm trying to get my knight up protected by my little 2-pawn chain right there. Have him sit there, and if he wants to exchange knights, that would be fine with me. If not, I would just take his knight on the next turn and exchange him that way. Instead, he moves his knight forward, putting pressure on the pawn directly in front of my king. But I'm safe down there. I'm protected, whether he takes with his queen or his knight. So I decide to continue a little attack and threaten forking the king and the rook. And so at this point he castles. Not really much help. His king is still pretty out in the open. And here, that back pawn is undefended. The pawn that I pinned to the king. And I decide to move my rook and put some pressure on it. So he moves forward to try and put some pressure on my knight. So I have to react to that. I move it, put him in check. And basically here I'm looking for forks. I do have a fork. Well, I do have a fork on the king, rook, and queen with my knight, but his knight could just take it and I wouldn't be able to take back, so that wouldn't be good. At least that's what's going through my mind. Maybe I could move my knight there, and when he recaptures with his knight, I could move my queen and take the base pawn of his 3-pawn chain and put him in check. I don't know if that would be beneficial for me or not. Please let me know if it is. Instead, I just decide to put pressure on his knight, make him move that. He takes my bishop, which at the time I didn't even see he could do, but it is protected by my knight and my queen. So I take that back. Material trades are just good for me now. Here, I could not take with my pawn because it was pinned. So instead I just move my king and get out of the pin. He moves his queen back. And here, if I could, offer up a pawn trade on that file, get my rook activated, put some pressure on his queen and that pawn behind the queen. I decide to move my pawn forward, press forward, and look for any material exchange I can get. He takes there. I decide to put pressure on his queen. And if he moves his queen, you can see that I have full access to that file with my rook and can take that pawn with check. That's what he does, and that is what I do. Put him in check. He moves his king, and I actually didn't realize at this point that I have a checkmate just by swinging my rook over behind the king. The king can't take the rook, it's protected by the knight. King can't take the knight, it's protected by the pawn. King can't move to the right because my knight is guarding that space and my pawn is guarding the white space below that. So that would have been checkmate. I didn't see it at the time. So instead I moved my queen out looking to take his other white pawn. And then he just moves his queen back. I guess trying to take my rook. At this point I see the checkmate and go for it. So that was this game. I hope you guys got something out of it, and please let me know if on any move you saw a better option. And yeah, I hope this video helped you guys out. Thanks. Bye.